Hello, everybody. Today we'll be reading A History of Us, Volume C, Chapter 49, titled War's End. In Europe, in 1918, on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, it suddenly became quiet. The cannons were still. For the first time since 1914, men could hear each other without shouting. The Great War, soon to be known as World War I, was over. It had been a terrible, horrible war. 9 million men died. It was not fought soldier against soldier like medieval battles of knights in armor. The new weapons of killing, machine guns, tanks, long-range artillery, grenades, and poison gas led to mass slaughter. War, wrote one soldier, is nothing but murder. But now the guns were silent. The dying was finished. In Washington, D.C., even though it was 6 o'clock in the morning, America's 20th President, Woodrow Wilson, was up and at his desk. Because he was considerate and feared his clackety typewriter would wake his wife and staff, he sat and wrote these words with the pen on the White House stationery. Everything for which America has fought has been accomplished. It will now be our fortunate duty to assist by example, by sober, friendly counsel and by material aid in the establishment of just democracy throughout the world. There's a subtitle on the side right here, the left side. It reads, "No one could buy his way out of service in World War I, unlike the Civil War. And for the first time, a woman served officially in the armed forces." There's a picture over here, and it reads, "Soldiers blinded by mustard gas moved past the bodies of dead comrades in this painting by American artist John Singer Sargent." And on the next page, it reads, "They were the words of a high-minded leader. The slim, frail, bookish man had proved to be a great war president. In amazingly fast order, he had turned a peaceful nation into a strong fighting force. The country's factories had gone from making corsets, bicycles, and brooms to production of guns, ships, and uniforms. In just over a year, beginning in April 1917, more than 1 million American men had been drafted into the army, trained, and sent overseas. And just in time, in Europe the fighting had been going on for 3 years. Both sides were near collapse. The Central Powers, Germany, Austria-Hungary, and the Turkish Ottoman Empire, were on one side against the Allies, which consisted of Britain, France, Russia, Japan, and Italy, with a few other nations involved too. The war, awful, dreary, and extremely bloody, had begun in Europe for selfish reasons, and it ended up making... The rest of it continues on the next page. So, we have two side panels right here. We have the Great War side panel, and it shows a timeline. So in 1914, the assassination of Austria-Hungary's Archduke Ferdinand sparks war between the Allies and the Central Powers. The United States proclaims neutrality, and the war quickly became a stalemate. In 1915, a German U-boat sank the British passenger ship Lusitania, killing almost 1,200 people, including 128 Americans. Not that it really matters, because honestly, a life is a life, if you ask me. In 1916, American President Woodrow Wilson won the re-election with the campaign slogan, "He kept us out of war." In 1917, Germany declared unrestricted submarine warfare and sank 3 American ships. This led the United States to declare war on Germany. And in 1918, an armistice ended hostilities. The U.S. President Woodrow Wilson outlined his peace plan, the 14 points. And in 1919, the United States Senate refused to ratify the Treaty of Versailles or join the League of Nations. Now there's a picture of Woodrow Wilson down here, and it reads, "Woodrow Wilson's greatest strength was his integrity. People trusted him because they knew he was trustworthy. He inspired others. He believed in the American dream. In Jefferson's words about how all people have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Wilson granted wanted to see that dream spread around the world. He convinced the people of the United States to go to war without thought of gain for themselves. He made it clear to everyone that America's only goal was to make the world safe for democracy. He made America's participation in the war seem noble and unselfish. Somehow. Okay. I'm trying to get it. Okay. Computer is glitching. It's having a problem. Okay. I'm gonna pause this and then I'm gonna restart it once it is fixed. Okay, we have it fixed now. Don't exactly remember what we ended on in the last page, but I will begin reading this one. Nations and people, cruel and bitter and angry. Nations and people, cruel, bitter and angry. And it led to another war. I think it's something about left. Let me. I don't know what it said. Okay. Yeah, so the war, awful, dreary, bloody, had begun in Europe for selfish reasons. It ended up making nations and people cruel and bitter and angry. Nothing can make you anything. And it led to another terrible war. On November 11th, 1918, it was still dark, but the news of the war's end was too good to wait for daybreak. Whistles tooted, church bells rang, and sirens blared. Before long, the streets across the nation were filled with people cheering, shouting, hugging, and kissing. America had gone to war, and the world was going to be a better place because of it. Or so it seemed on that Armistice Day. Now there's a picture here. An armistice is a truce that brings an end to fighting for the official signing of a peace treaty. And a picture has a subtitle that reads, no caption. It reads, in November 1918, people celebrated the end of the Great War, also known as World War I. So that is the end of this chapter today, everyone. That is the end. The end. So I hope that you have learned something from this, and I hope that you enjoyed it. Hope you could hear me too, because I had been having trouble with the microphone earlier. Anyway, I just wanted to wish you a Whippadap day, a truly magnificent day, a wonderful one. Have a Whippadap life.